The following is intended only for mature audiences. Always consult legal and medical professionals when needed. Viewer discretion is advised.
From a an energetic standpoint, anything physical in the body that sets up as an illness stems from an energetic perspective to begin with. So how are these things impacting our chakras? How is it internalizing?
I guess we'll call it the awakening time where they're more aware. Oh my gosh, I can tell my cat's acting funny, or I'm feeling like I'm being watched. And they're more aware than they are most of the time. I mean, it's like...
Right? A lot of them, for me, I had a little girl come to me. I was at church, and that was the first really...
And all of a sudden, within a couple of days' time, somebody's either lost their job or somebody's car broke down. You know, these are the accidental sides of manifesting.
Stories happen to people, and they take it on themselves. They take it on their shoulders. They take it on their heart. And, a lot of this stuff challenges them and their beliefs about themselves, about it limits who they can be.
I like to look at their charts before I do healing session with them. And if we can get their chart, we can really pinpoint, a lot of these are past life things coming forward.
What it is we have a conversation with that spirit, and we let them know why we're there. We also...
but as far as the negative aspects, it can really lower your mood, and, it can completely depress you. And I've seen that with a lot of people.
Because it was a shock for me, I expanded my knowledge, and I stepped into energy healing, and then I went into shamanism. So in working with my guides...
Good evening and welcome to a special edition. This is kind of going to be our pre-show for the evening before our main event, the live seance that is going to be conducted by Reverend Pat Beers. This evening, joining me right now is Mr. Jared Walters and Mr. Malcolm Spears. How are you doing, gentlemen?
I'm doing well.
Fantastic.
Hello, things are good.
Awesome. I am glad to hear that. For the people that don't know, we kind of put all of this together to be able to talk about seances, kind of a brief history, what they are, where it came from, to give people a little bit of an understanding of what may or may not happen during our live seance with Reverend Pat. So, Jared, I'm going to ask you, if you would, simply because, here again, for people that don't know, I've never been to a seance. I don't know much about them, but that leaves Jared and Malcolm and Pat, and they'll be joining all of us later. But this evening, these guys are going to be talking about the basics, the nuts and bolts of. So, Jared, I'm going to go ahead and leave it with you for a minute, and tell me a little bit about the history, if you would.
Yeah, first of all, this is a fascinating subject for me. I really enjoy history. I like the era and all the fun stuff that goes along with it. But basically, the idea of seances didn't come around until the Victorian era. It was around the mid-Victorian era, around mid-19th century. And it was very popular over in England. In the United States specifically, it was around 1848. If you've ever heard of the Fox sisters, I believe we have a picture that we can show you of the Fox sisters. Kate and Margaret were the two that started this, but basically their family had moved into a home, and they had a fairly sizable family, and the two younger girls began to hear rappings in their house, or also known as like knockings, and they quickly were able to respond to this and knock back and get responses, and they developed this system of communication with this spirit and found out all this, information and things that were linked to the specific spirit, that he actually was a peddler that died and was buried in the basement of the home and all this fun stuff. But it caught on rapidly, and before long the spiritualist movement began, and people are doing this stuff and formulating spirit communication all over the place. It was very popular. If you can imagine, during the Victorian era, you didn't probably have much to do. You couldn't sit around and watch TV. You could maybe read a book or something like that. But it was a social outing to go to somebody's home and get around and formulate these spirit groups, if you will, and try to communicate with spirit. Spiritualists believe in the continuity of life and proving that there is an afterlife by communicating with spirits and getting evidence that way. So that's basically how it all kind of began here in the United States.
There was one picture that I wanted to show people that you had forwarded to me. And it's called table tipping. And I know that Pat does this too. What is table tipping?
Table tipping is a fun spiritualist form of communication. As they went on, they developed these different types of tools to be able to communicate better and more effectively with spirit. But table tipping is actually a physical phenomenon that a lot of times physical mediums, or they also call these temporary mediums, because anybody can do this. You go in, you connect your energy to the table, you call the spirits in, and the spirit will either start knocking on the table. The table might start rocking. It can walk across the room. There's all kinds of crazy things that can happen where the spirit is actually physically manipulating the table to move.
Malcolm, you, if I'm not mistaken, you have had experience with table tipping or that kind of phenomenon, correct?
Absolutely. We've had a lot of fun. And there was one time I was being sarcastic in a circle, and the table took exception to this, and it came after me. And I ended up on the floor in front of a couch, and this thing was on me, and I could not get it off of me. So apparently, to the amusement of everybody else there, I figured I deserved it, you know?
Now, for people that are watching right now, please understand that this is not a facade. This is not a joke. This isn't Hollywood. I know Malcolm. I know him personally. Even though he's up in Canada, I know this man personally. And I would actually vouch for him and say what he just told you is true. Because if I'm not mistaken, Jared, when Pat has done table tipping before, you've been present both in Donna Bretz's store as well as your store, and you've been able to witness some of this very same thing.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Well, I've seen a number of pretty wild table tipping sessions. There was one time we were in this house that had a lot of energy. It was on sacred ground. And it was an old house, like 1840 something. And the ceilings were quite low. And we're using like those tin TV tables, you know, with the scissor legs. Mm-hmm. So they weigh like not even a pound, right? So I was really startled that I couldn't get it off. But this was like quite the exception. I don't want to leave people with some kind of like scary image. But we've had the table dance with people, waltzing. And because the spirit who was coming through the table that particular night was a champion dancer.
Wow. And
his wife was there, and he waltzed around the room with her. And, we've had the table get stuck on the ceiling. We've had a number of different things happening, but I think it has a lot to do. I think table tipping, like seances, you need a group of people to be there as an energy batteries.
Yes.
Because you need to raise the energy up in order for these kind of phenomenons to happen usually.
Right.
And it's a lot of fun. It's really an exciting event.
Yeah, there's two things. One, hopefully, if the table that we're going to use this evening is going to move, I hope it is polite, because it's a very heavy wooden table with tile on the top. It's
oh boy,
it's a big one. Okay, but it's meant to seat the people that we're going to have. But two, and I was speaking to somebody earlier that had been to several seances, and typically you would have your medium, and then you have a variety of people, but most of them may not be metaphysically advanced or anything. I don't want to say normal, because nobody's really normal. But that's your general crowd in a seance, your everyday people. So my question was to him, and I'll ask both of you, since everybody that's going to be seated at the table in this seance all of us are metaphysically inclined, if not in the profession as professionals, how is that going to affect things?
Well, from my perspective, I think it's only going to intensify the energies because we have a common core focus. Some people don't know what to expect when they're coming into a seance. So, as long as you're open and willing to be a perceiver to see what actually can come through and what can happen, that's good. But when you have a collective thought pattern and a collective energy that is already in the process of raising that vibration, you're probably going to get some more intensive effects in the form of physical mediumship in some cases.
Malcolm, what do you think?
Well, I think having everybody being metaphysically inclined is going to help a lot. There's not going to be fear. There's not going to be people who are like excitable, because what you really want is like grounded, experienced people. Because there's a number of things you do not want happening in a seance. You don't want the circle broken. You do not want the medium touched or disturbed in any way. There's often somebody who takes the role of gatekeeper, who is part of making sure that the spirits wanting to come through, that they are of a very positive vibration. Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of things that are not supposed to happen, which is why I've done it with people who are new, but I much prefer experienced, grounded people, so that you don't have to worry about it. It's a non-issue.
Right.
And if I am not mistaken, Jared, you're going to be playing the role of gatekeeper by Pat's request. And for anybody that hasn't read anything or done anything or looked at us online, Reverend Pat Beers will be doing the seance this evening, and she has been doing it for more than 24 years. And she has said, in her own accounting, she has done well over 200 seances in that time. So this isn't something that is just a gimmick. Pat is a professional. She left the realtor world to do what she's doing now, and I'll tell you what, she's pretty awesome at it. Okay, so we've spoken a little bit about history of, and you mentioned the sisters and the spiritualist part. There was another photograph, seance cones. If I'm not mistaken, this picture has a seance cone in it. It has, I believe, Jared, you said ectoplasm that was coming out of it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. If you see, there's a gentleman sitting slouched in a chair, and you see this white substance or this etheric energy matter that's coming from him and going to a levitating, what they call a spirit trumpet or a cone in the air. And basically what you're seeing there is it's another physical phenomenon. There are three main different types. You could say that there are four, but there are three different types of mediums. But when we talk about physical mediums, we're talking about these physical smells, hot and cold drafts, apportation, transfiguration, spirit lights, rafts and knocks. The list goes on. Direct voice communication. In terms of the trumpet here, what we're talking about is that the medium goes into an unconscious state or a trance-like state, and the spirits and spirit guides and guardians are able to, from inside the medium's body, pull out this substance. And the substance can be ectoplasm. It's also known as photoplasm if it's a little bit more refined. But then you get this physical vapor, if you will, this physical manifestation of this energy matter coming from the medium. And that energy allows the spirit to manipulate this energy to lift and levitate things, for instance, or to put that ectoplasm over themselves so that they can physically appear before the people that are there at this the seance. And basically, this ectoplasm can form an artificial voice box at the tapered end of the cone, and they can speak with their voice through the trumpet, and you can hear their voice audibly in the room.
Wow. Now, Malcolm, when you have conducted seances or been there, have you experienced any kind of phenomenon with any tools that were used or present during the seance?
I'm not a big believer in tools and gadgets and stuff. I've sat in seances where they've had a trumpet, but I've never seen it move or speak or anything. I've heard disembodied voices. I've seen ectoplasm for sure. I've seen transfiguration to a very high degree, which is where the energy builds over the medium's face, and it's really very cool because what happens is their face almost goes blank, so you see nothing, and then in the energy over their face, other people's faces appear. And I've seen that one time, just face after face after face happen. It was a fairly large cruise, so there was a lot of energy to work with, but almost everybody at that circle saw somebody that was part of their past.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, just again, for people that are tuning in and watching, this is our pre-show before we go to the live seance with Reverend Pat Beers. We're discussing history, things that have happened, things that could happen. We do not know at this point what, if anything, is going to happen during the seance this evening. We are going to have 3 cameras. One will be just a full-time picture and shot that is going to be focused on Reverend Pat Beers, because there's a lot of activity that typically happens with the medium themselves. The second camera angle is going to be an overview of the entire table, so that you will be able to see people sitting at the table and things that are happening either on the table or near it. The third camera is going to be pointed at a smaller table that is going to have various things like a Ouija board, in case there is any kind of communication that wants to happen. Spirit bells, that if they want, they'll be able to hear these little bells. They'll jingle, and it's not because somebody's sitting and tapping on them or rattling them. It's going to be its own table, so nobody's able to bump into it. Also, we're going to use a seance trumpet with a microphone at the bottom, so that we have the capability to capture any disembodied voice that wants to be able to come through. People are going to be able to hear that during the show. And then I believe we'll have also like a cup of water, so that people would be able to see the water actually in the glass, physically moving all of its own accord. So these are the things that are going to be present. But again, we don't know what's going to happen. It is a 100% uncertain. we may all just be sitting and watching and seeing Pat being able to deliver messages. We may all have white hair by the time we're done. We really don't know.
Oh, it's lots of fun.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it simply because I've heard the very same thing, that it is an event that people typically won't forget in their lifetime.
I've had circles happen spontaneously. I think I've talked here before about 4 mediums playing cards. And what's happened sometimes, we're all 4 of us the spiritualists, all 4 of us mediums, and we're just laughing and having fun, and spontaneously somebody goes off into trance and stuff starts, spirit phenomena starts happening because we're revving up such a nice energy. It really welcomed them in. And it just happened around the kitchen table.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jared, let's talk for a minute history, if we will. And this is a notable kind of thing. And I'm just going to pull the picture up, but I'll let you talk about Mr. Lincoln.
Yes. It was very popular, again, in the Victorian era. So Mary Todd Lincoln was, I believe she had 3 sons with Abraham, and 2 of them died earlier on, and there was only one that lived into adulthood. And so that kind of prompted her in a lot of ways when the seances and the whole idea of spiritualism started taking off. So she began getting heavily involved in spiritualism and conducting seances. It wasn't heard of for her to bring mediums into the White House and conduct seances in the White House. And there's even some theory and thought behind the fact that Abraham Lincoln was, through these seances and through the messages that came through in the seances, that the Emancipation Proclamation, that's what kind of encouraged him to sign it. It was through some of these meetings that they would have in these seances with the information that would come through. So in this picture that you're looking at specifically, this is a spirit photography of Mary Todd Lincoln. If you can clearly see a manifestation of Abraham after his passing behind her in the photograph.
And that's a big one because this isn't just a Hollywood material. It's things that have been happening for hundreds of years. It's just we're focusing more on the here and now, the Victorian era, and how they're used now. But there was another person of note, Mr. Harry Houdini, of all people.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do is bring up his picture. Tell me a little bit about that one.
Well, this is an interesting one. Harry Houdini was a magician and did lots of acts and whatnot. And with his knowledge, he tried to debunk a lot of this physical phenomenon and things that were happening. Because unfortunately, during that time, there were a lot of charlatans that were mass producing forgery, if you will, acts of forgery in public demonstrations and whatnot that were giving spiritualists a bad name during that time. So he tried to debunk a lot of what was going on. So he kind of made a pact with his wife, Beatrice. They've kind of made this pact together and said, if one of us passes, the other one will come through in a seance. We have a key phrase or key word that, that will be brought out so that we know that this is truthful and whatnot. So upon Houdini's passing in 1926, the most well-known of the seances, she tried for 10 years. It was in 1936 upon the roof of the Knickerbocker Hotel in Hollywood. They completed their last and final seance to try to connect with Houdini. And in the picture, you can see they had several objects on a table in front of them. I believe Beatrice is on the left, and then the other gentleman, I forget his name, on the right-hand side. He wasn't a medium, but he was conducting the seance. And so the evening goes on, and they had handcuffs in front of the table. They had tablets to write upon, just a whole host of different things. And it went on throughout the night, and it was a clear evening. You could see stars in the sky, they say, and whatnot. And nothing happened. Beatrice Houdini basically said that their attempts were futile, and Houdini couldn't connect with her, through the seances all these years. And then with that being said, all of a sudden it started to rain, just for a brief second, just to get everybody wet, and it stopped.
Wow.
So that's kind of how the seance ended at the very end. So they say, well, Houdini won't come through with these cheap parlor tricks. He's going to come through with something much stronger. So, you have to be the judge, but it rained from a clear sky just for a brief few seconds.
It would be enough to convince me simply, I work in the field, we all do. And if you're getting rain out of nowhere and no clouds in the sky and it's raining, there's something going on.
Right.
You can't explain that kind of stuff.
And you can actually go ahead. You can actually go on YouTube, which is really interesting because you can listen to the seance. It's recorded and it's got some introduction stuff before it, but it's really cool to listen to.
Wow. I'll have to go and check that out.
Yeah.
Malcolm, out of curiosity, again, because you're up in Canada, do you find a difference between how things may be conducted there versus how they might be conducted here in America?
No, I don't see any difference. It's because a lot of where I went was through spiritualism, and it's pretty much the same right through North America. A little bit of little slightly more British influence here, but really not that much.
It's just I'm surprised, and again, because everybody follows much the same route, if you will, worldwide. Because there is a standard way to do things, and then the non-standard, of course, and then there's Hollywood, which would throw in all kinds of who knows what. Now, Jared, because you have had Pat doing a seance in your store, what can you tell us about that experience and what we might see this evening or experience this evening?
Well, from from my perspective, from the few times that I've seen Pat conduct a seance, I've seen seances done by other people as well and been involved in them. It's just a very laid back, it's not scary, anything like that. And basically Pat opens the doors and, spirits start coming through, and she just starts getting a lot of messages and telling us different things and the people that are coming forward. I don't know how Pat would classify herself, but a lot of that's considered mental mediumship when, the medium is conscious, and they use their clairs, like the clairsentience, clairvoyance, claircognizance, all those types of clairs, and they just basically are getting feelings and perceptions and delivering messages that way to the people that are around. I've never seen, and I'm not sure, and this would be a good question to ask of Pat, if she has ever done the trance mediumship or the more of a channeling type thing where spirit actually comes and takes over the physical body. But it's really just a good time. You just really have to listen. It's helpful to take notes in some cases, because a lot of times spirits will come through and you're not really sure who they are, and it may make sense to somebody else or a friend or another loved one at a later date and time. But
Well, this evening, again, people are going to be able to watch all of this unfold live on Facebook, as well as being able to watch it on the YouTube channel, which is Terra Turas. So there's two ways for people to check this out as we go into our evening. Malcolm, would there be anything that you would want to close with? Because I see there's something on your face. It just...
I'm just reflecting back over years of having done this, and just some of the scenarios that have happened. And people, I've seen quite a lot of trance work. I've seen people use cabinets, where cabinet is like a sort of they're surrounded by curtains, and supposed to amplify more the energy, is my guess. But mostly it's the mediumistic, where the spirit has taken over the body of the medium. Sometimes you get different voices. In one instance, the image was over the person's face, a little door about the size of a business card, right over the center of the person's face, opened up. There was light pouring out, and then there was this little girl sticking her part of her face out and looking around through this little opening, and laughing and giving us messages as from a joy guide. So I mean, it's, you never know what to expect. I mean, it really can be very profound, and sometimes it can be really mundane. So it's all about the energy, I think, of the people that are involved and how focused everybody is, how much energy is built up. So listen, I can't be there, unfortunately. I would love to be, but this is the way of things. And I will be tuning in to watch.
Definitely going to enjoy having you watching that. Jared and I are going to be there. Jared will be at the table. I'm going to be behind my computer, of course, keeping camera angles moving and checking everything out and making sure it's all running smoothly. But again, this evening, it's going to be a live seance conducted by Reverend Pat Beers. We don't know what will happen, but I'll tell you what, it's that time, so we are about to find out.
Yes. I really encourage our viewers to, in the chat room, to let us know if anything's going on around us that we're not paying attention to, if you're seeing shadows, mists, hearing things that we're not hearing audibly through the microphone. So
yes, please do. I'll be listening to, we'll have three cameras, three different microphones all running at the same time this evening. So it's going to be one of those kinds of things. But until then, gentlemen, thank you for joining me right now.
Thank you.
And right now, we're going to segue right over in and go live with Reverend Pat Beers.
And why is she wanting you to step out? She says, enough already, just go. And she showed me the Ouija boards, and she was talking spirit boards, and she was talking about that. It's very important to her for some reason. Did she play with them? Did she utilize them? What's with that? Do you talk to her through it?
Try not to. Not in a bad way.
She's using the word cantankerous. So are you being cantankerous, or was she cantankerous?
Both were. She's one of my favorite people, but we were.
Okay, but she says you guys were too much alike.
Yes.
And so therein lies the rub.
Mm-hmm.
Her thing is to me to tell you, do you feel the difference in the table? She wants you to step out. Enough of this. You're not utilizing your full potential here. And she said enough. She wants you to do what you know you need to do.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Hmm?
It makes sense.
She's still here, so what? Talk to her. What does she want?
I think she's my creative. She likes my art, my writing. It always comes through.
Keep going.
Especially the horror
Do you
stuff.
feel it?
Yeah. She was a really big horror fan. So every time I write something scary, I always think of her.
Is there one that you've put on hold that's a very scary one?
Yes, it's
Okay.
the one that I'm writing
This
now.
is the one she's after you about.
There's two of them, but there's one that I've been... She wants it to be scarier.
What does one of them have to do with the back? Back. Oh, my back is like somebody's just...
My back has been bothering me very badly.
Okay. It's stress, she said. And if she said, if you would... Did anybody else feel the table doing this?
Yeah.
It's like if she...
In the middle, yeah.
She says that when you quit worrying about and you just write, don't worry about what you're writing, just write and it will make sense later. And she said, yes, you'll have to go back and change some things, but she's just really on you because she said, I hate to say this, but that's probably why your back's bothering you so much, because you're stressing. And that's a weak spot for you. Gone. Anybody here have a relative? You guys are not old enough to remember Maggie and Jiggs, right, from the newspaper? Karen. Who's that make you think of? Because it's a man, he's got a cigar. And he's laughing about Maggie and Jiggs in the newspaper, and somebody was always yelling about him about those smelly cigars. And I feel like he's one of those people that would smoke it and then put it aside and pick it up and smoke it again. And you know they usually smell lovely after they've done that. Uncle? Oh, man. Do you have an uncle that smokes cigars?
They all smoke cigarettes. My grandfather smoked cigars.
What's his name? I'm getting the name Mason. I don't know if he means that he was a Mason or he was a stonemason or he just shows me the word Mason with it. But he's laughing because he's got the cigars.
Yeah.
What?
I have a nephew whose name's Mason.
Okay, well, he's talking about him. So what's going on with Mason? How old is Mason?
I don't know this
30s?
No. Young.
19?
He's like 9. Yeah. Maybe.
9?
Yeah.
Did your uncle pass young? What does 39 have to do with anything?
His one son passed, but he was probably in his early 50s.
Okay. He's showing me
I'm
an...
39. Or
Are
no,
you?
excuse me, I'm talking about 37.
He's wishing his
whole
life
thing.
away. Okay. And Mason is 9?
Yeah.
Does he act older? Because he keeps talking to me about 19 and 39, and I'm like...
Oh, I don't know what's significant about 39.
I just wondered if he acted, because, you know, some kids will always act. Something about Mason. Something... Is he intuitive, do you know?
Probably. He shares. He's a Cancer. His birthday's day after mine.
Okay, feel it? So that's partly what he's talking about. And why... Are you the only one he can talk to about this stuff? Or does he talk to you about it?
Probably, or my mom, since she's more open.
Okay. They're showing me... I see only his nose and his eyes. And it's like he's seeing things and he's not sure what to do. Does he know how to protect himself? Does he know any... You know what I mean? To tell him you don't have to talk to all of them. When's his birthday? Do you know? They keep showing me 19. Is it the 19th of the month?
July 10th.
July 10th. So that makes him Cancer?
Yep.
Okay. Either you need to talk to him or Mom needs to talk to him. I think things are very active for him right now, and it's kind of a concern for him. He's kind of mature for his age. Because when I'm talking about him being 9, they go, no, he's really 15. He's really 15. So he's very in tune, if you will.
Yeah.
But there's something, well, you know, this year's been strange because I keep saying that the door between the worlds opened in May for Cinco de Mayo, and it never went back to what it would normally go back.
Yeah.
Something about 19. Are you talking the 19th of them? Okay. Okay, November, December, January, February. Something about March, spring for him, opportunity, but you all need to talk to him and tell him that this time of year things happen that don't happen
Right.
a lot of other times. Because he's telling me he's not scared, but he's kind of leery, if you will. So he wants you guys to talk to him and tell him that this is just part of what goes on with life, especially if you're very open.
Yeah.
That's all he wanted. He just kept showing me those crazy cigars. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And then Jigs and Maggie, because I guess that's how he got me to connect to the cigar. Okay. Gentleman named Paul? No. Saul, S-A-U-L. That's a name from the Bible, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody connect to that? He wasn't called Saul. He told everybody his name was Paul. This man's from the late 1800s, 1889. Do you have a message? Okay. Thank you for stopping. Just wanted to say hello.
Yes, hello.
My feet are freezing. Is anybody else cold?
A little bit. I keep feeling like someone was touching
So who
my
does it
shoulder.
belong to?
It's like somebody's putting their hand on
Yeah,
it.
like,
Yeah.
like their thumb, like to say, like,
Yeah, like-
kneading it in.
Yeah.
Okay, which one of you two belongs to this person, spirit,
What's
entity?
the name?
I'm not getting a name,
Oh.
but it's between you two because it keeps going back and forth across my feet.
You can have them. Maybe it's your dad.
Oh, that ornery man.
Because I told Al not to come out.
And you know telling him not to come is not going to help.
Yeah.
By the way, Al is her deceased husband. I know you told me this. I never knew Al. But he's here with his favorite KFC Colonel white suit and
Oh, God.
and string necktie.
Yeah, from the South, Georgia.
So who else was who was the friend involved with him with that? Was there someone he got made friends with that would enter the sing contest?
Oh, you're talking about...
I don't know. He just
Oh, I
told
know
me
what you're
because
talking
they're standing there beside each other and they almost look like twins.
That's from Key West.
Okay.
That's the Ernest Hemingway contest in Key
Okay.
West. He used to enter that.
Okay.
Ernest
So
Hemingway. He
who's
used
his
to win.
buddy that did that with him?
Peggy Mannering's husband.
Do you know if he's still alive?
I don't know. He was from the Bahamas and he went back home. Derek.
How would he be if he's still alive?
80s.
Okay.
80s.
I feel like he recently passed. I don't understand this. Did he like to sit on the floor like you do all the time? What is with this guy? He's got him sitting over here between us.
Yeah, because he was Bahamian, is that what it was? And their religion is different.
Okay.
He practiced whatever they practiced down in the Bahamas. That's where he was from, British West Indies.
because I feel like it's that guy more than it is Al, and he's here. And did he like music? Because I'm hearing, I don't recognize what kind of music it is. I mean, I'm just hearing music.
A lot of drums, a lot of
Okay,
guitar,
okay.
a lot of
All right, yes.
Caribbean.
Right. Okay, because he's sitting here and he's doing that and he's just smiling and he says it's so peaceful, it's so peaceful. That says to me that he has crossed over.
Oh my.
That's all he wanted. That's all he wanted.
Yeah, that was Derek. It's a Key West thing.
Okay, who
Oh,
are
I
you?
got real hot. Really, really, really hot.
Okay, so ask him who and why. Because the room is full of people. The table's gone crazy, vibrating. Karen, are you picking up on anybody? Because they're telling me to come to you.
Sort of seeing somebody in between them, but they're not.
Is it Barb?
She's always with me.
Why aren't you listening? Why aren't you listening?
Bart,
Uh-huh.
I'm listening to him.
Is your health okay? What's going on?
A little bit of blood pressure, that's it. Just had to go on meds.
And what else?
That's it, that I know of.
Because she just said she knows how you are. You're just like she was. And that you're just not paying attention. Are you not drinking water? Why is she standing here with a pitcher of water and a glass pouring water for you?
I'm always drinking water.
She's on you. She just... What was her name that just... Lois just passed.
Right.
Is there anyone else that we know about that's not doing real well? One on the table, Cat. One always on the table. What was... Oh, Charlotte. Because she said...
I've heard about Charlotte in a long time.
I know. Because she's talking about the three. And they were pretty tight, the three of them, weren't they?
Wow.
See if you can check on Charlotte. But she's after you. She's still got a pitcher of water. She's still pouring water for you. She says it's too easy to ignore those little things. Maybe, I don't know. Because we wouldn't have any way of knowing if Charlotte was not taking care of herself.
I keep wanting to draw math equations, and I don't.
Oh, you know who that is.
Yeah,
all right.
squares and
Tell
triangles.
him. Talk to him. What's he want?
To annoy you?
Not me.
I don't know anybody.
Ed.
Oh, Ed.
Please.
I was thinking of Roger.
Oh, don't
Maybe
even.
they're in cahoots.
No, I don't think it's Roger. I think it's Ed.
Could be. I didn't feel like that at first. I kept seeing a thinner, taller man with brown hair. Like a chalkboard with a square, like drawing. Like I keep.
They're showing me
square.
They keep showing me Ed.
Squares and triangles and like B.
Because see, he was always doing that for us. Remember when he did that mathematics stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I asked Roger, and he said, "No, it's not him."
Something with B.
He played with chemicals.
Something like B and then 2. I don't know. I'm seeing that.
That's a symbol.
It's like I keep seeing a square with like a line through it, like a triangle where it would break up into 2 triangles, the letter B and the number 2. And I keep wanting to like draw a square with my thumb. And like,
ask him what it means. Ask him what it means.
That's a metal symbol.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's a metal.
Yeah.
Element.
Yeah. I don't know which one it is.
I sure wouldn't know. I flunked chemistry.
Chemistry.
It's chemistry.
Oh wow, I just got the chills.
Okay. Well, ask it. Is it Ed or is it Roger? Ask him.
It could be Ed's father.
Okay.
I feel like it's not Ed, but someone close.
Okay. Ed was a member of our Preternatural group, and he would do these presentations for us, and he always would lose me about 5 minutes in because it was always
Very
so scientific.
But they were amazing.
And then all I keep seeing is that year he did the calendar with us, for us with all the space stuff in it.
Those. I just keep, it's like it didn't serve a purpose and it's not here. I don't know. It's weird. I didn't get a message just showing me and then no, it's not really.
I think he wants you to know he's okay. And he thanks you for staying in touch with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Jared, what's going on down there with you?
Nothing at the moment.
It's your mom's mom that I know, correct?
My dad's mom.
Your dad's mom? Okay. So the other one was your mom's mom? I don't know why. She presents herself as being your grandma, but I thought that was Kim's mom, not your dad's mom. So what was that grandmother's name?
Marlene.
Okay. She wants me to sit back. Why? Remember the spinning wheel at Cremette's? Did you see? Okay. What would that have to do with her? And are you writing stories? What are you working on? Because she's talking about spinning a yarn. Are you teaching classes? Are you thinking about teaching classes? What is this? She's showing me that little spinning wheel, and she's sitting there, and she's just doing her thing. She's got this big bag of stuff, and she's twisting it into yarn. And she said, tell him, get on with it, get on with it, get on with it. And I just see stack of paper. So, I imagine you would be writing on a computer, not a stack of paper.
Right. What's that? What is it?
Richard, this the idea of leaving what you were talking about yesterday, trying to get...
Oh, something, yeah. Something new, more classes and
Well, she said
teaching.
It's all there, but you have to let it come. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because she said you're trying too hard to... And when we try to focus, we know what happens. Everything just kind of goes...
Right.
Did you feel her at your mom's house the other night? She absolutely loved it.
Not that I remember, anyway. But I do occasionally feel her around. And
She was so... She said she loved the little kids. Was she into Halloween? Because she's showing me herself with a witch's outfit on.
not that I can remember. I'm
So
not sure.
who would that be? It's a female. Oh, it's Marge, Rhodey.
Oh, yeah.
I said, because I'm used to seeing her in that red flower, and she said, well, I like to have fun sometimes too. So she took the witch's hat off with the black hair, and it was Marge. Okay. I don't know what you're doing, but she says, thank you for honoring my memory. So there's...
This is Marge?
Mm-hmm.
It's something along the lines like she used to do.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because she's just
That I
saying,
was been
thank you
thinking
for
about.
honoring my memory, and she does one of these.
Yeah.
She's going to let her fly. Are you going to write some kind of stuff for children?
You never know.
I think you're going to, because remember she talked about doing along the lines of Mother Goose.
Mm-hmm.
And she never told me what it was all about, but she worked on self-empowerment for women, but she always wanted to do something for children.
Mm-hmm.
And because of what you used to do before, she said that you understand how children and teens think, and she wants you please to take that into consideration when you're doing your thing. And she's saying her stuff, she always had the quotes at the bottom that were very factual.
Yeah.
She said that you will do that too, but you're going to do it in a different way. And
because it plays in with history.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
factual type stuff too.
Yes. And she said, but you'll make it so that they can appreciate it, understand it, love it. and play with it and be very, very interesting for them.
That makes sense.
And she said, what you're going to do is you're going to take, your stories are going to be like nursery rhymes, but they're going to be based on fact rather than on, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. She's with her beloved dog. I never remember their names, but that shepherd, she had a shepherd that passed.
Mm-hmm.
It's sitting there beside her.
I can see that picture of her with a shepherd.
And she got that younger one, and she wasn't real happy with it. It was a puppy.
Right.
There's a man standing to your right. Oh, the old man at the building.
Mr. Kerber?
Yeah. You may not be doing. You didn't leave him there, okay?
Okay.
He wants you to know that he did not. He did not stay there when you left. He left, okay?
Yeah.
I don't. He must have had a good sense of humor because he's just kind of, and then he just steps back and walks away. He's gone. Do you guys do ghost walks or anything?
We haven't, but that has been in my wheelhouse to thinking about.
What's the cemetery? Oh, I'm supposed to go to Bobby, and I don't know why. What's the cemetery that when I would come down the road, I would pass this big cemetery on both sides of the road? Do you have anybody buried there? Do you know any connection?
On the way to the shop?
Yeah. So why are they?
Yeah, I forget the name of that one. It's a Catholic cemetery.
There's one on each side of the road, but they're coming to him, and that's why I thought maybe there was some connection for you and them.
I just always thought it was neat how it was on two sides.
Okay, because they're coming to you with that, and they're saying, please, please. So I think there's going to be.
It's an odd place cemetery, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Have you been there in the evening and seen lights?
I have not.
They're
but I've
showing
heard-
me like orbs, like little orbs coming up, and they're all white.
I always feel like there's something there.
Is it an old cemetery?
It is old, yeah.
Cholera? What's cholera? What
Cholera's not far from where the shop was. There's a cholera cemetery, yes.
is that? That's a separate entity, correct?
Yep, it's just, a big memorial. Everybody was kind of
Well,
piled
because
in.
somebody says if they're going to go over there, they need to come over here.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that's divided into two pieces, for some reason, you, Bobby, have some kind of connection to that place. And the name Samuel,
I heard that earlier.
and there's also a gentleman named Franklin. But like Samuel's over here and Franklin's over there. I don't know. I'm getting 1800s. Is it that old? 1889?
Oh, yeah. It's old. Yeah, cholera ran through Sandusky.
Well, one of these guys, and this makes no sense to me. He's in the Confederate uniform. He wasn't, but it's like there's some connection to him and to the Confederacy, because I've got a gentleman here in the light gray with the epaulets and all that, and it's like it's a relative of his that possibly is buried there. That's on the, as I'm going toward the shop, that's on the left side of the road. But for some reason, the right side of the road, they really like you, and they're showing me just orbs coming up from different spots in the cemetery. So you guys may need to go over there and just kind of walk around and talk to people and videotape it.
If I remember correctly, I'll have to ask my dad, but he had a brother that was born stillborn, or didn't live long after he was born, but I think he's buried in that cemetery.
Okay.
And I don't think any other family that I know of is.
Okay. For some reason, they're just really, they're just telling me you have some connection to that place, and I don't know what it is.
That wasn't the Veterans Cemetery in Antonio, was it?
No.
No, that's the one with all the little white gravestones on the way down Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of neat cemeteries around us.
Yeah.
No wonder you two are crazy. Okay, guys, who's anybody picking up on anything? I've got to name Fred right now. And I think it's my Uncle Freddie. Okay. I know. He has come to me before, and he came to me in a wheelchair, and I never saw him in a wheelchair, and he was really upset that I didn't recognize him. Somebody had to tell me that, that's your uncle. I'm like, oh, okay. He showed me the way he should look. Was there a big Wiccan community ever in Sandusky, kind of underground?
Not that I am aware of, but that doesn't mean anything.
There is a lady coming to you. She's very thin. I'm short. I'm 5'3", so everybody's told me she's 5'8", 5'10", and she's, you know how they have the two crescent moons and the moon in the center?
Mm-hmm.
Is something about being down by the water. If I'm looking at the water where they have all their stuff downtown, to the left of the State Theater, but I'm looking at the water. What was there, an amusement park? What was out there on the other end where the land kind of goes out in the water? I'm hearing laughter. I'm seeing a carousel. I'm seeing a Ferris wheel.
Unless you're just seeing picking up on Cedar Point across from there.
No, this is old. This is way before Cedar Point. These people are in long skirts and period clothes, and the men's shirts have like garters on the... And she said, we had a community out here, but we were way out here because nobody, except when they were going to have like the carnival or whatever, come to town.
Then I'm not sure of.
Gypsies.
Is it gypsies? Because she said we were not liked. That's why we were way out there. There was a lady murdered out there several years ago. Trailer park, something. It's going out of town the opposite direction. What's it? Tofts. I took...
Oh, out that way?
Out that way. Way out that way.
Dennis Road?
But this is like... The land doesn't go gently down to the water. It's like kind of a drop off, but that's where they would hold their meeting. They would go down there next to the water because it was hidden from view by...
Oh, there's the Beer Can Beach, yeah.
Well, you hit it, whatever it is. What is it?
It's called. They call it Beer Can Beach back in the day.
Okay. Well, that's
because it collects lots of
not
cans
what it was called
and stuff.
when they were there. Do you feel that? So
Yeah.
what does that mean to either one of you, or what is that? Because somebody's...
It's really rattling.
Yeah.
My mom would go down there and collect beach glass and stuff like that. But a lot of homeless live in the woods that's right by it. So
Okay,
it's
no,
kinda
I'm talking early 1900s.
That I'm not sure.
Late 1800s.
I'm not sure of that history.
Because she's showing me like a campfire kind of thing, but it's just people would go down there and meet and do their stuff, and then they would always have to, then just leave and leave no trace that they were down there. I don't know. Can you research that in your stuff? Because I think there's a lot of hidden history.
Yeah.
It wasn't a seaport, was it? From the lakes, was it?
Not there. That I'm aware of anyway.
No, it's too small.
Yeah, just a small little...
It's down this treacherous kind of hill. And it just is a little...
That's why they went down there, because they could go down there. That's why they went down there. I have no idea, but that's what she's carrying on about. So there's something there that they're wanting you to research or understand. If you meditate on it, you'll probably get the answers you need. Okay, does anybody here know somebody who died of throat cancer or something? Thyroid cancer. What's male? It's a male. You're awfully quiet over there.
I'm taking it all like...
Well, you're supposed to be helping me. Because my throat is like... It's real scratchy, and when I try to talk, it's like I can only talk like this. I can't. First name is a J. Jason, Jacob.
John.
John?
John.
Okay. Wow. Anything you'd like to ask of him or say to him? Because he's just like... How long is he gone, do you know?
I'm going to say about 20 years down.
Okay. Does he come to you a lot?
Sometimes, yes.
He's ready to get the 2x4 because you're not listening.
John was a very stern man.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
He says you know what you need to do. He thought about a ball bat, but he liked a 2x4 better because you'd see it coming. This year, he wants you to go back to July of this year and research, rethink, redo. What else do you want? Is anybody else getting anything from this man? He wants you to roll up your sleeves. It is time. It is time. It is time. Whatever this is, he shows me December 24th. He shows me a fire in a fireplace, and he said, you get this done. You can sit in front of the fireplace. He shows me you with stocking feet, and you're sitting there relaxing, looking at the fire, and he's telling me you're drinking mulled cider. What's the other? Is it wassail that has the alcohol in it? Okay. He says, because he's got like a cinnamon stick standing in it, and he says, you get this done, and then you can enjoy the holidays, and the new year will be upon you before you know it. Okay. I told him.
Is there anything he'd like to tell his son?
That he loves him, he's sorry, he cries. He says, I wasn't there as I should have been. He must have had a tough growing up because it was hard for him to share emotion. Very difficult for him to share emotion.
True.
And he said, if I'd have known then what I know now, it would have been a whole lot different. And he hugs him. He shows me he would hug him if he could. He loves him greatly, and he said he's on the right path. He needs to quit his stinking thinking and get moving, because he's the only one holding himself back. And he said, tell him to stop being fearful. No, the road's not going to be easy. There'll be some bumps, but it is okay, and he needs to just get on with it. And he's gone, just that fast. Wow. What do you call it when kids would lay on the floor and undulate? You know what I'm talking about? Huh?
The worm?
Yes. Who does that make you think of?
I don't know.
Young. This person's young.
Could be one of my nieces or nephews.
This one's in spirit. High school, maybe? Car accident? Always messing around. Always being really foolish.
Good question. I'm not sure.
I think you know the family. I feel like the father's not in very good shape right now. Jimmy James. Not John. Jimmy James.
That was my dad's brother who passed. That's his name.
Okay.
They called him Jim, but he was a James.
What's going on with some of his family?
A lot of them are gone. His wife and his stepson, and it could be his stepdaughter. I don't know.
Is she very frustrated right now?
We don't really have contact with her.
He says she's nasty. He says, I understand. But he says, just pray for her. He's asking that you pray for her because he says, as full of life as he always was, she is not. She's, I think, angry, frustrated, and it's always somebody else's fault. Never. How old would she be now? Would she be in her early 40s, possibly late 30s?
Early 40s.
He says somebody's putting the mirror right in her face. Some of the things she has done now. Karma train is coming back. And he's concerned about her. But he says, just pray for her. Because he says she's not going to listen to anybody.
Yeah.
And he thinks you must have prayed for them a lot, thought about them a lot, because he said you always helped him to find comfort after he passed.
Okay.
Wow. Whatever this is, 1111-1115. Not going to pass. It's serious. I don't know if it's illness, accident, but you will hear something about her, and I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Kelly, who do you talk to on the spirit board?
Depends.
Who's one of your guides? Who's one of your favorite contacts? Excuse me. I phrased that wrong.
His name starts with an H.
Again, why are you not listening?
To what?
He shows me like a string, like if we had a whole bunch of lightning bugs flying in a row here, and it's just he's lighting the path, he's lighting the message, he's like
The insecurity lately.
Okay. He says it's unnecessary, it's unneeded, and he says she's not listening to me, she has to trust herself, she has to go within, and it's there, just let it out. Good. Somebody wants to know why you're being so quiet. I wonder who that would be.
No, I'm just quiet today.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
I keep seeing the Hollywood sign, and I don't know why. It has nothing to do with me, though.
I don't know either.
Just like Hollywood.
Female,
Hills.
male, can you tell?
Female. Hollywood Hills.
Trish.
Oh, the Queen. Yeah, my cousin.
Are you getting any kind of a, what is she, you cousin, niece? Cousin.
Just, I'm not getting why. I keep asking why, and it keeps giving me the infinity symbol.
I'm getting nothing. What do you feel? Except cold around my feet
Cold.
and my ankles.
She's cold. She's
That's
just
why I
cold.
keep getting
She
cold.
is just cold.
Yeah.
Her personality is cold. She's just
Just $1 million house.
Yeah, she lives in a $1 million house.
Wow.
It's very weird. I just
She's
keep seeing
just-
like Hollywood Hills, Los Angeles.
That's where she lives.
Okay.
I'm feeling like she's closing herself off even more than she has in the past. Does that make sense? It's like she's put herself into a vacuum tube. She's not going to let anybody near her.
Oh no, she's not. She's alienated.
Is there a
from
doctor? I saw a doctor too in a doctor's office.
Her former brother-in-law is a doctor, cancer doctor,
Okay.
and she's forever going to the doctor. She is hypochondriac and finding everything wrong.
Interesting.
They just show me her shrinking. I mean, she used to have a fairly decent world, if you will, friends, and it's just like she just keeps shrinking it down to it's literally, this is crazy, but you remember the old cigar tubes, the glass cigar tubes? It's like she's putting herself in one of those, and it's got the screw cap on it, and she's
That's Amanda's mother.
pardon me?
That's Amanda's mother.
Okay. Yeah, that's what that's all about. Yeah. And she's been a topic of discussion for all of them
Yeah.
lately.
Yeah, especially lately, especially yesterday.
Why won't she stay at Grandpa's when she comes?
Because her father drinks. Her father drinks.
Oh, her father drank, okay. Well, and she also says it's dirty and it's small and okay.
And it has mold.
And I felt sad when I kept seeing Hollywood sign for some reason. Like it made me want to cry.
She's not in a good place. She's not where she needs to be.
And nor is she with the family because
She wants to be a Hollywood group, and she's an us like us. And she wants to be accepted with that, and it's not working for her.
Someone's thinking like very strongly, like rocking back and forth.
That's her mother. That's Virgie.
Is that Virgie?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's weird.
Yeah, no, I can fully appreciate that. That's been the struggle this week. Pat's helped and talked to her daughter. It's just family
Like
issue.
anxiety or something.
Extremely.
Twitchy. Yeah.
Christmas is coming. What do you do? That's kind of that thing.
Like
when you
twiddling
do.
thumbs or something. Like I keep seeing thumbs twiddled and like rocking back and forth.
Waiting for the ball to drop.
I think she's worried about the fact that neither one of the kids will invite her,
Yeah.
even though they're not going to be home.
I just felt still like it went away.
That's a shame.
It's gone.
Good.
Garen, what's happening with you over there?
Seeing a gentleman standing over here like Bobby. Do you know of anybody that's passed that wore suspenders? I keep hearing the name Joseph.
Not that I can think of.
Do you know of anybody? It's
Not really.
an older, like an uncle, from what I'm gathering, is an older uncle.
Not that I can think of. I do think my old neighbor, he wore suspenders, if I remember. I don't know what his real name was. I always just call him Poppy.
Okay. Okay.
One on the table all the time.
Yeah.
I'm so hot.
I know.
My hands are.
Send it into the
message
earth.
he's given me to give to you is that he was not allowed to acknowledge your choices, but he wants you to know that he's okay with your choice of your life. That he had pressure from other people not to give you a nod on your choices.
Support. Yeah, he keeps
Right.
telling me support.
Yeah. He wants you to know that he always did, but he wasn't allowed to let you know that.
I keep feeling like he was a kindly person, very friendly, but everybody else controlled him, the family, the whatever, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of like when he was saying that he always wanted to acknowledge your choices, but he was told not to.
And he's older generation. Is he the one rocking me right now? Somebody is rocking me and will not let me stop.
Maybe she's moved from me to you. The other one.
Jared, who did you know? Okay, I'm going to use the word spinster, meaning to me an old maid. I don't know if she sat in a rocking chair, but she's coming to you. And I get her connected to the shop in some way. So was there ever a female down there that you knew about? I just remember the old man.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. House? No. When you were working with your previous job, did you deal with elderly too, or?
I did when I did work for the hospital for a while.
Okay. Because I think that's where she connected to you. Because it's like you always had a kind word. You always treated her like your grandmother or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like she either sat in a rocking chair all the time, or even when she wasn't, she couldn't quit rocking. She just, and I get an unusual name like Elizabeth, but everybody called her Lizzie, or never married, no kids. I feel like she was the youngest of many. But she just, and she comes to you from that kind of a setting where you were just always very kind to her. I thought it was your work. And she said, well, it would have been your work, but I'm thinking about your work with the other group. Okay.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is that she just likes his energy.
Yeah, yeah.
And she likes just being around you. She's not going to ever bother you. She just loves your energy.
Yeah.
She just loves being around your energy.
You were always so kind to her, and she absolutely loves it. Gone.
Thank you.
There's somebody that keeps coming in that doorway,
Okay.
looking.
Male, female?
Male, and looks,
Okay.
and then goes, just like kids peek and go back. Kids peek.
Can you tell if they're alive or in spirit?
I don't know.
I think it's somebody connected to Mr. Michael over there who isn't here tonight. First initial M. You know who I'm talking about, Mike? He's ignoring me.
Slightly.
Yeah, slightly, my foot. You know darn well who it is. So if I can't be there physically, I'm going to be there etherically, and I'm going to check this stuff out.
Looking.
He keeps looking, yeah.
They keep looking. I thought at first it was the shadow of Kelly's hat, and it's not.
No, it's a relative of Michael's. Right?
I believe so. Yes.
I do too. He's just curious. And he's like, busted.
Sorry. Sorry.
It's awfully quiet for me. Are you guys getting anything? I mean, it's just like, and I see there goes the table again, but I'm asking. You can't just come like that and then leave. You got to come forward and talk to us. Anybody have a sailor in their family?
Navy. Most of the men in my family have been in the Navy.
Grandfather?
Yes.
Great-grandfather? I mean, this gentleman it's the old Navy uniform, not, when they had the great big legs.
Yeah, my grandpa was in the Navy too.
Okay.
Yours too?
Yours too? Because it's an older gentleman. I just see him in the dark blue, and the pant legs are like 3 feet wide. And he just comes and he salutes and he says, "Hi, guys." And he got this big smile. I think this gentleman had trouble with his legs or his feet or both. Does that make any sense? Okay. He says, "It's all gone. I'm perfect now." And he's got this grin that will not quit. And I don't think he comes to you often, but he's showing me, he likes to send you angels. He's showing me angels. And it's just like, he says, sometimes you make them work overtime. You don't speed when you drive, do you, Bob?
Not typically.
Okay. But he's just, are you coming up with new ideas? Why the angels is green, the wings, it's knowledge, growth, change, prosperity, healing, but he's telling me it's ideas. He said, sometimes you got to just write them down and come back to them later. It doesn't make any sense now, but he wants you please just to keep track of this, because he says there's so much going on for you right now, and he just really wants you to pay more attention to what's it. Wow. Anybody here are you having trouble with your hip?
My hip has been out.
Thank you. Not mine. I send it into your me. Have you done anything about it? Have you checked it out? Please do. Because I think it's something very simple, but you might have to go to the chiropractor And no, it's not going to be fun. He says, it's going to hurt, and that's why you're not going. But please, he doesn't want, because he says the longer you wait, the worse it's going to be. But yeah, because he came and it's just like, felt definitely something with the legs and the feet. Are you reading? What are you doing? Because he's showing me, like, you're looking at books or you're looking at papers. And he said, it's a distraction. So I don't know what you're supposed to be working on. But whatever these books, these papers are, they're like a distraction. Because I know I need to do this. I'll just read this a little bit more. So he's saying, because you've got so many things that you need to be writing down that you should be paying attention to. And he's very proud of you, and he wants you to know that. But he says he has to go get that looked at. When you can't walk anymore, he says, then he'll go. I think the whole family must be very stubborn, because that's what he's saying. But he's saying, please don't wait, please don't wait, please don't wait. Because he said it's just going to get worse instead of getting better. And he says, when the snow flies, you're really going to know it's there. Mm-hmm. So maybe some arthritis or something. There's lots of energy floating around in here, and I can't get them to stop long enough to tell. I've got a lady here who loved gardenias. I don't know if she loved the flower gardenia, but she loved the smell of gardenias. Does that make any sense to anybody?
My grandma, who's still alive, loves the scent of gardenias. It's her favorite flower.
Has it been a while since you did anything with her, for her, talk to her?
Well, it was a while since I had actually seen her, but I saw her last weekend only briefly.
Well, she wants you to. It was fun, so she wants. Yeah. She used to see you more often, and she wants to know why you're not.
Right.
She made that comment.
She did make that comment. Yes.
Just making a little point here, that's all.
Right.
They don't have to be deceased to come to us, guys. They can come in any way they choose. The number 7, Jared, to you. Backwards to me, facing you. What's with July and you? What's with July?
My birthday is July 9th.
Oh. Anything big this year? Anything new? Anything? They want you to go back and look. July. I don't get just
I was at Lilydale for my birthday.
Oh, okay. Well, they want you to go back. Something sparked when you were there. They want you to go back and research this and I'm asking what they're talking. But it's like you need to go back and look. Do you still have your catalog from there?
I might. I don't.
Because there's something about being there. Notes you took, papers you picked up.
I got a prayer book from the Healing Temple. That has all their different, their prayers and stuff.
Okay.
And a healing cloth and.
Okay. Because there's something about July and ideas, and so the two of you need to collaborate or something. I don't know what that is.
It makes sense to me, yeah.
Now I'm going around in circles. And I'm like, why? Because I want to. This is a little girl between 7 and 9 years old. She again, we're talking a long time ago, probably early 1900s, but she loved to wear dresses, and she would just spin because she liked to see the dress. You know how they would. I don't feel like she's attached to anyone here. But she came because she saw all the lights, she saw all the fun, she saw all the stuff. You got one like that?
What?
A little girl that comes to you off and on?
No. If anyone that comes through like that.
Then I won't tell you she's the one that you connected to, because it was one of you two. The one you connected to in Chesterfield that kept talking to you. Do you remember what her name was?
Girl.
What was her name?
It was a real old,
Yeah.
old
Ring,
with
banana
ringlets in her
curls,
hair,
banana curls, banana curls.
She looked like the girl on the Waltons.
Yeah. Because I'm like,
with the blue ribbons in her hair.
yeah, and I'm like, what are you doing here? She's just holding her dress and just, she spins around this way, and she says, I like her, and since it didn't connect to you, then
Yeah,
it's
she
like,
was the little girl that came.
that is too
with,
funny. That is too funny.
That hotel. She was the one that
She
came
was,
at the
yeah,
hotel.
she was at the hotel.
And she'd stand there and show her pretty dress. What was her name? It wasn't Elizabeth.
I don't know. I just see her. I can see her in my mind's eye, and she's very proud. She's got this little dress on, and she's just very happy. Abigail, okay. Yes. Yes. And I think she died young of some, she couldn't breathe. Couldn't breathe.
She was from the time when they had all that influenza. back
Oh,
in
okay.
The late 1800s when all the kids died.
When I was a little girl, I used to hear girls in my bedroom singing Ring Around Rosie. So I told them to stop when they went away. But that was when I was
Isn't that from like the Black Death or the
Yeah.
plague or?
Yeah, I think the plague.
Okay.
Yeah. It was almost like there was a school in my bedroom. I could hear them playing.
Wow.
And it was really.
Wow.
Most people would get freaked out. I was just like, shut up.
Yeah, they left.
Yeah.
She always were a little strange.
Right. Because my dad heard me one night and said, who are you talking to? Don't yell at me. I was talking to you.
Michael, can we take a quick break for a minute?
We sure can.
Thank you. What is the noise I keep hearing over here? Is anybody else hearing this, or is it just me?
Cat or the dog, I think.
There's nobody over there. It's like somebody. Does anybody have anything? Is there anybody you want to talk to that we didn't talk to? Is there anything going on that you want to bring up before we close? Because, boy, when they leave, they leave.
Yeah.
Okay. Karen, anything? Kat? Cal? Ready? Okay. Spirit, we have a basket over there with silks. If you would be so kind as to leave a message or a drawing or symbols, something for us so we know you were here. We'll check out the planchette on the spirit board. We thank you all for coming. We ask that you return to where you come from, harming no one upon the way. The door is now closed. Good night. My hands feel like they're 5 inches thick.
Mm-hmm.